Kachenu, NamRA nchi yetu, NamRA Kachenu, NamRA nchi yetu, NamRA Kachenu, NamRA nchi yetu, NamRA Kachenu, NamRA nchi yetu.
NamRA, serving with passion.
Hello and welcome to this edition of NamRA Kachenu, where we focus on tax, customs and excise matters. I'm Elise Dentlinger and I am delighted to be your host for the next half an hour or so. In today's episode, NamRA Commissioner addresses the media on key issues critical to NamRA's operations. NamRA hosts UNAS students. ATAF Continental Exchange of Information EOI Conference. All that and more coming up shortly. On 17 October 2024, NamRA Commissioner Sam Shivute held a media briefing addressing key issues vital to NamRA's operations. The session covered topics including revenue performance, updates on the fraudulent refund scam investigation, the mass tax refund initiative, the tax amnesty program, the one-stop border post, and more.
What is the purpose of this update or briefing today? We term it Namibia Revenue Agency or NamRA Performance Progress Update or account. We feel that we are, as a state institution, as a public institution, we report on a monthly basis to the minister. And on a quarterly basis, we report an account to the board of directors. Let's briefly start with the revenue performance over the past 6 months. That's from 1st April to 31st September 2024. Namibia Revenue Agency, we have collected, and this is net, 45.1 billion Namibian dollars within a period of 6 months. And now this amount is more with about 7.1 billion if one is to compare with how much we collected at the same time last year by end of September, because last year we have collected 38 billion. So this year we outperformed last year's performance with about 19%. And for that we are very, very grateful to the men and women in Navy with a touch of orange. And we have also refunded 5.1 billion. So the 45 that I reported about, that is net. So before that it was 50.1 billion, but 5 billion we refunded it to the taxpayer who deserved to get that refund. We're moving on to the tax amnesty, the program that I talk about that started 1st of April 2023 and it will be ending on the 31st of October 2024. Now with this tax amnesty, the total amount collected thus far up to the 30th of September is 4.3 billion. 4.3 billion. And also what had happened as well with this program as well, about 1.2 billion of interests have been waived and 25.9 billion in penalties have been written off. Then in September 2022, at the inaugural Binational Commission between Namibia and Botswana in Gaborone on the 9th of September, a decision was then made that we need to establish the one-stop border post. We need to be starting operating 24-hour at the Mamuno Trans-Kalahari border post. As a result of that, we then put up what we call a binational project. You have one project in Botswana, and you have a project in Namibia whereby Namibia Revenue Agency is the lead agency, but this is not a NamRA project. It's a national project. It's a Namibian project where you have all border agencies, Namibia Agronomic Board, Home Affairs, RFA, everyone that have offices or business to do at the border. We then had a committee, and those committee then we have delivered on that project. The good news is that you can see here a happy client. The project has been successfully delivered. We have started operating as one-stop border post. It's just one aspect of data, of the auto data connection that need to be finalized, and with that, we are very much ready for the launch of that very national significant project. It's done.
A group of University of Namibia Accounting Society students visit Namibia Revenue Agency on the 16th of October 2024 with the purpose of gaining more insight into NamRA's journey, vision and mission.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Marvano Naimbale. I'm a tax analyst under strategic communications, and I'll be your moderator for today. First of all, I would just like to thank God for making it possible for today, for us to be here. And then I would like to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Tonateni.
Thank you, Madam Director of Ceremonies, Marvano Naimbale. I'd like to welcome you all. I'm happy to see you. A few days ago, or last month, we have received
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tuliki. If it's the surname, I'm a logistic officer and acting financial director from the NamRA Accounting Society for 2024.
As a juristic person, to assess and collect taxes and duties on behalf of the state. We are doing the work of the state. We collect and assess. We receive and record state revenue, again, on behalf of the state. It's not our money.
To you, one of our legacy department, and its legacy in terms of what Tonateni has said, that it existed even before the operation, the existence of NamRA 3 years ago, which is called domestic tax. And again, as Nesla has given us
everyone for making time to be here. And what we are building as an institution is to ensure that the young people, they understand what we do. It guides them in how to choose their careers. It guides them in getting that interest of saying, I'm attracted to an institution like NamRA. And we always want to make sure we have the best talent to push the mandate of what we are executing.
I would like to usher you to the pamphlet looking like this: customs, travelers guide information. Go to page 6 there. You realize that there is a specific allowance or specific threshold for one to
they are processed through that system. So we are able to see or account what is being imported into the country or exported out of the country. We have also, I don't want to be too technical, but maybe it's important to bring it up. There are criteria that are built within the system. Roads are prohibited.
The other one up is the social responsibility, where we have to take care of our elderly, our young children, and the
What is the line of authority that you use to ensure that at all the entry points, because you mentioned that you enforce or you regulate customs at all 35 entry points. So how does NamRA make sure that the management reports accurately and honestly that it works?
First question is, NamRA collects revenue on behalf of the government, but is it actually involved in the discussions on how this revenue is utilized? And my second question is, do musicians and entertainers in Namibia pay taxes?
Yes, I wanted to ask, like for the domestic division, I want to ask, how do you guys deal and prevent tax evasion exactly? And I also wanted to ask, I don't know if let's count as two questions also. When NamRA deals with individual taxes, do you guys, like, when you batch them, are they done like per area?
The Africa Tax Administration Forum, ATAF, supported by GIZ, hosted a 3-day conference on EOI and tax transparency. The event facilitated dialogue among African countries and regional organizations to shape the continent's agenda on these topics, exploring related opportunities and challenges.
Which entered into force in April 2021. And then during the same year, the Namibia Revenue Agency was set up, and that then allowed us to set up the UI unit, which was fully functional by 2022, so fully staffed and operational. So currently, Namibia is exchanging information on request only. However, we've also undergone a preliminary maturity assessment of our information security management arrangements in preparation for the AOI implementation. We've not officially committed to a date yet, but we are estimating to start exchanging AOI in 2027. So our current focus is really on addressing the Global Forum recommendations, which in preparation for our first peer review scheduled for the third quarter in 2025. And based on the wisdom shared this morning, we will try and move beyond just meeting those, implementing those recommendations successfully and getting a compliant rating from Global Forum. So we will really try to enhance, use that opportunity to benefit the effective use of EOI. So the second thing that we're focusing on is really trying to raise awareness within NamRA about the EOI function, as well as trying to train our auditors and investigators on just how to use the tool effectively so that we can increase our revenue. And all of that we also use, we're working on that with the collaboration with ATAF Technical Assistance. And finally, Namibia is also participating in the Africa Initiative for the working group, which is developing a model strategy to effectively maximize EOIR. And that's really just reflecting our commitment to capacity building and to enhance our EOI capabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Namibia. And colleagues, you can see the summary of the journey in Namibia.
The NamRA Revenue Treasury section attended the 2-day National Accounting Summit from 17 October to 18 October 2024. The Commissioner Sam Shivute was one of the guest speakers, and he addressed the room on shaping and influencing public sector accounting through innovation.
When you talk about international financial architecture, or today we are at the National Accounting Summit, maybe we can talk about Namibia's financial architecture or financial system. That system is what one calls the lifeblood of any economy. Now, without the financial system, or with a financial system without accountants, can you just imagine one? Cameron, Masakote, is it possible to have a financial system? Because when you have a financial system, you want it to be stable, you want to be robust, you want it to be, can you have it without accountant? So it's not possible, huh? Then you can see, when I say that I'm in the company of greatness, and when you're in a company of greatness, you also feel great to a certain extent, I mean it, and give yourself a round of applause because of the great work that you are doing. Now, I wanted to briefly talk about NamRA's mandate and how innovation comes within there. I will briefly touch on the importance of public sector accounting within public sector, and also how can one remain relevant. There is this book about dancing on the edge. Jack Welch talked to us about how to be on edge, and I wanted to touch briefly on that, then I will conclude. Because the future you have already future paced it, isn't it? Now, Namibia Revenue Agency, I always say, and I was talking to Mefeni and said, I think Namibia Revenue Agency per se, just by its launch, that's also innovation. Because what is innovation? Innovation is about having a new idea that is put into practice, and as a result of that new idea having been implemented, a new service or a new product that have a potential to add public value will come about. That is really innovation. You do not really have an academic agreed definition of innovation. But when something that is new, novel, something that is novel and it's put into practice and it works in bringing about either taking bottleneck, improving efficiency, adding public value, that's an innovation. Now, we used to have a time when revenue function.
After the break, we will be joined by Mr. Victor Musiwa, Manager Service Improvement and Customer Experience at Strategic Communications and Support Engagements in NamRA. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and we are thrilled to have Mr. Victor Musiwa, Manager of Service Improvement and Customer Experience at Strategic Communications and Support Engagements with us today. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Victor, and a warm welcome to NamRA Kachenu.
Thank you very much, Alice. I'm very happy to be here.
So, Victor, please introduce yourself to our viewers, and can you please give us some background of your profession pre-joining NamRA?
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Victor Musiwa, as introduced, Manager for Service Improvement and Customer Experience. I joined NamRA in June this year, so I'm just a little bit over 5 months. And it has been a roller coaster. Prior to joining NamRA, I was working for myself, a consulting company called Relentless Customer Experience. Before that, I was in Japan. I went to study for a master's for 2 years, focusing on digital transformation and blockchain technologies. Prior to that, I was working for DSTV, MultiChoice. And prior to that, I was working for Bank Windhoek as head of customer experience. Prior to that, I was in the mining industry.
Wow. So, Victor, tell us, you've just mentioned that you have now been with NamRA for over 5 months. Can you share with us some of the experience that you had, and how has your journey been thus far?
Okay. Yeah, it has been a roller coaster. It's been an exciting journey. I'm very passionate about customer experience, and I've always looked for a pinnacle, an organization where I could do work that can transform the experience of citizens of Namibia. So when the opportunity for NamRA came, I expressed my interest through the application process, and it has been exciting, but there's a lot of work ahead of us because we're talking about transforming the whole culture of the organization to focus more on the customer.
Okay, so service improvement in customer experience is a crucial aspect at NamRA's mandate. So what strategies have you implemented so far to ensure that our clients are satisfied with the services at the client-facing offices at NamRA?
Okay. Thank you very much for that beautiful question. So the whole thing about customer service in NamRA is that we need to ensure that every time a customer reaches out, and by customer we mean taxpayers, we mean traders, but anyone that is looking for service from NamRA, every time they reach out to NamRA, we have to be able to deliver to their needs and expectation for that interaction. The organization traditionally has not been organized like that, and the work that we are doing now is to start creating several strategies and plans that will make sure that we create capacity on the front line to allow the frontline people to have the right tools, the right processes to be able to deliver whatever the customer is looking for.
So Victor, tell us, I understand that taxpayer and trader education and awareness are key components of your role within NamRA. So since joining in June, what major awareness sessions have you led, and how do you plan to enhance future awareness for traders and taxpayers alike?
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. So the mandate of NamRA is to administer revenue laws. And just from that perspective already, revenue laws need to be socialized. So the people that need to comply with these revenue laws need to understand what are the laws, what do they entail, and what do they have to do to comply. And that's where the trader and taxpayer education becomes very important. And we are doing active efforts to ensure that every trader, every taxpayer that needs to comply with certain laws, they are, number one, aware, and number two, whenever they want to comply, customer service is not the barrier that makes them fail to comply. We've started doing a lot of reformation activities around this space to ensure that we understand all the different types of taxpayers and traders that NamRA has the mandate to serve. And then we are unpacking a strategy of ensuring that everything that they need to know, we drive activities to create that knowledge. And whenever they want to comply, we have the right processes in place to ensure that they are able to comply.
Very good. So Victor, tell us, what are some of the main challenges? We have already discussed some of the challenges, but some of the main ones that you've encountered in your new role, and how do you intend to overcome that?
Okay. So some of my background is from a business process engineering perspective. And one thing that we need to do, as I indicated earlier, is to create capacity on the front line. Essentially, what we are looking at in terms of going into the future is to ensure that every customer service request that comes to NamRA, we have visibility over it, and we have the capacity to deliver on it within acceptable timelines in terms of service improvement. NamRA is so far the only institution in Namibia, a state-owned enterprise, where it's mandated to focus on improving service delivery. And it is importantly so because we are dealing with money. We are dealing with financially sensitive transactions. And if we fail to process certain requests, it might result in either penalties or interest on the taxpayer, or it could be that we are delaying a refund that could change somebody's life out there.
Yeah, so can you share your vision for customer service at NamRA, and what are your hopes and aspirations for the future?
Okay. My hope for NamRA in the next 2 years is to ensure that we become an ISO certified, so international standards organization certified for quality service delivery, because that's what's going to underpin what we do for the public out there. But more importantly, also the mandate of my department is to focus on improving voluntary compliance. Now, improving voluntary compliance, our focus there is to ensure that the reason why people fail to comply is not because of customer service. We want to ensure that every time a person that needs to comply wants to comply, the service is not going to be the barrier. The other element of that is ensuring that people are aware of their revenue law obligations. So there should be certainty. People should know because I'm a salaried individual, or because I'm a trader, or because I'm doing this type of business, these are my tax obligations. I understand them and I know how to comply. And whenever I want to comply, the customer service will ensure that the process of compliance is smooth.
So, Victor, this session has been such informative to our viewers, I believe. Is there any final thoughts that you would like to convey to our audience out there as we wrap up this conversation?
Okay. Thank you very much, Alice. I think for our NamRA customers, taxpayers, traders, I would like to encourage all of you to contact us in terms of feedback or suggestions for how we can improve our service. Specifically, we have created an email address called info@namra.org.na. Another one is customer.complaints@namra.org.na. You can send your suggestions, you can send your complaints to those emails, and we'll use those to drive our continuous improvement internally. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victor, for joining us today, for taking time from your busy schedule. We know you are very busy, and we do appreciate it here at NamRA Kachenu.
Thank you, Alice.
And that was Mr. Victor Musiwa, Manager, Service Improvement and Customer Experience at Strategic Communications and Support Engagements, with us here in the studio today. We will be right back after this. Now let's turn our attention to the smuggling of goods and consequences thereof.
Good day. My name is Aubrey Sinyepe, Principal Customs and Excise Officer for Border Control, Operation and Compliance. Today I want to discuss about smuggling and the consequences thereof. But before I delve into the subject, I'd like to give a simple definition. Smuggling refers to the importation and exportation of goods into the country without declaring at the border, with the intention to evade taxes. Now, there are sections in Customs and Excise Act 20 of 1998, Section 14, which talks about every person is required to declare his goods or her goods upon arrival at the border. Now, if you don't declare your goods, that in itself tantamounts to smuggling. And the effects of not smuggling is that result in loss of revenue. Government has some capital projects to undertake, and they rely solely on the revenue that is being collected by NamRA Revenue Agents, NamRA. These capital projects ranges from upgrading of roads, hospitals and schools, social grants, rural developments such as rural electrification. All these projects, they require finance. And if we allow smuggling to penetrate our local market, it will affect our economy. The second one would be loss of life. When citizens resort in using substandard medicine, it will affect their health in the long run, and that will result in death. Third one is the unemployment. The other one will be local industries or companies will close. This is because they are unable to compete with the smugglers that are selling their products at a low cost or at a low price. And that will result in them closing the business, and eventually unemployment will increase. According to Customs and Excise Act of 1998, Section 91, it talks to non-declaration. That if you don't declare your goods at customs, hence it is a requirement, you will be given a fine. And these fines, they are very steep, such that they are ranging from 8,000 to 3 times the value. Therefore, it is an advice to traders and everyone that are smuggling goods into the country without passing through customs offices to declare their goods. They should refrain from smuggling goods, because if they are found, they will be required to pay an amount of 8,000 or 3 times the value. Thank you.
Next, we will take you through the eligibility for the back pay on tax by employer or NamRA.
Good day, I am Robert Skatangolo, and I'm here to talk about who qualifies to get a tax refund as a result of the recent tax rate changes.
Who is eligible to get a tax refund?
As per the notice issued by the Minister of Finance, employers are required to refund or pay back employees who still work for them since March 2024. The refund will be made against future pay deductions. As for employees who have resigned or have changed employment, they will get their refund from NamRA, and that will be next year upon their submission of the income tax return of the 2025 tax year. For employees who fall below the taxable threshold, they too will be refunded by NamRA upon their submission of the income tax return of 2025. This will be after February 2025.
What should employers do or take note of?
Employers are required to refund those taxpayers who qualify to get their reimbursement or refunds. And if cash flow permits, employers can refund the employees who fall below the taxable threshold, provided that the future pay deductions absorb that refund. When it comes to employees' tax submissions, your monthly ETX submissions, employers should take note that those submissions should not fall into a negative or go into a negative.
When does NamRA pay tax refunds?
NamRA refund taxpayers upon the assessment of their annual tax return. So for taxpayers who qualify to be reimbursed or refunded as a result of these recent tax amendments, they will be refunded next year upon their submission of their 2025 income tax return. With that said, we encourage taxpayers to remain compliant by filing their tax returns on time. This will aid in not delaying your tax refunds.
Here is the trivia of duties.
Did you know? Companies and closed corporations are entities taxed on profit earned, and they must submit annual financial statements.
NamRA, serving with passion.
Do you need to make a payment for tax debt? Here are the available options for payments.
My name is Angela Kamui, Senior Revenue Treasury Officer at NamRA. I'm going to take you through the process of making payments to our NamRA offices. We have 4 modes of payments which are acceptable at our offices, which are direct deposits, cash payments, electronic fund transfers, and speed points machines. When making electronic fund transfers, we have 2 accounts available for our taxpayers, which is a receiver of revenue, account 165001, and the VAT dedicated account 165060. When making a direct deposit, our taxpayers need to fill this deposit slip at their commercial bank. You need to have your TIN with you. The TIN consists of 8 characters, and then you should also know the period that you are making the payment for. When making an electronic fund transfer, for your penalty or interest liability due to NamRA, you use the EFT referencing example as shown on the screen. It also has 19 characters, but on the text type and text period, you put 999, indicating that the payment is account payment. When making electronic fund transfers, EFT referencing example is shown on the screen, which comprises of 19 characters. The taxpayer reference number comprises of 5 parameters, which are as follows. 1. Represent the payment method, in this case, EFT payment. 06. Office of registration or your return office. The 8th character represents your tax identification number. 14 is tax type, in this case, employees tax. 2018-06 is the tax period for which the payment is meant for.
In our previous episode, we asked, what are the required documents needed for refund on temporary imports? Kindly see the answer as displayed on the screen. Our question for this episode is, who is the manager for service improvement and customer experience at NamRA? Kindly email your answer to NamRA Kachenu at namra.org.na. The due date for submission is the 7th of November 2024. We will announce our winner in the next episode.
And with that, we wrap up this edition of NamRA Kachenu. We hope the information shared has been both valuable and insightful. Join us again in 2 weeks for the latest updates. Until then, stay informed, stay compliant, and goodbye.